right. So Miyabi, a unique situation as a transfer, and not even a freshman transfer, but a sophomore transfer.
Yes.
So, how did you find TFCA?
Yeah, so I went through the audition process my senior year of high school, and I did not have any familial support or like financial support or anything, and I kind of bombed very significantly. So then I went to Southern Oregon and I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do now. But my situation there, just in my personal life, was like really bad.
Hmm.
And so I talked to my friend a lot who did MTCA, and who's now going to Syracuse. And she told me that I just like had to try again. And I was doing opera at the time, and my opera teacher was like, "You can only do opera, you have no career in musical theater, whatever." And I was like,
You have no career, or just musical theater isn't a career, or
just
both?
just my she she thought my voice was much more suited towards opera.
Hmm. Which it
But
is very skilled in, but not limited
yeah,
to.
but like the only thing, I mean, opera's great. The only thing I want to do, like really bad, is musical theater.
Hmm.
Okay, so I was talking to my friend, and she basically convinced me to apply to TFCA and start doing maybe a couple lessons with MTCA as like I could afford it. I was
Hmm.
working two jobs at the time and like saving so much money. So I did the initial consult, and I met you, and it's kind of gone from there. And
Yeah.
I'm so lucky and happy with
And I met you and
everything.
said, this is a special, talented woman, even though you hadn't really begun to explore the the breadth of your musical theater voice, it was there, you know? And also just
Yes.
the good humanness radiated off you, and that's important, and maturity, all those things that um are necessary to succeed in this process, especially as a transfer, because it's a little harder. There are fewer spaces, so you have
Mhm.
to be that much more, you have to prove it that much more, that you're worthy of a spot. But
Yes.
we're not thinking about that anymore because you definitely are. So, and let's not downplay, just for the viewing audience, you're a very talented classical singer because you are at school on a full ride
Oh,
at Southern
yes.
Oregon. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Which makes the transfer thing a little, you really you have to close your eyes and leap, not to quote our favorite musical or anything, because the financials beyond this,
Mhm.
aren't guaranteed, but part of what we do is work with you to make sure that it's viable.
Yeah, I
Um,
just
Go ahead.
have to pursue musical theater, like
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for what I have at Southern Oregon University. I'm doing acting now,
Hmm.
and I'm in the small BFA cohort for performance,
Hmm.
but I just need musical theater.
Yeah.
So I feel so grateful to TFCA and MTCA.
Yeah. Well, you work, as I have said in recommendations, you work probably harder than anyone that I've seen in 33 years of doing this. And part of that is that you're so passionate about the process. So, what's been every piece of learning? So, what's your favorite part? What's been your favorite part of audition prep?
Um, like personally, I love the technical part of singing.
Hmm.
So working technique with you, my wonderful vocal coach, Ellen Letrick, is like the best. Like I really like learning, especially about how my tongue and throat work.
Hmm.
And maybe that's partially because I come from a classical background in vocal technique, but like that is something I am so interested in. And it almost like having rep is great,
Hmm.
but I just almost want to be in like a process like for everything,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
And that's palpable when I work with you. Um, and I want to share too that part of your earlier journey, it feels far, far away, but it really didn't start until July, was you kind of saying, but figuring out how your actual anatomy and physiology that you were born with
Mhm.
works in the musical theater world. Because you want to talk a little bit about that, like what you thought
Yeah,
musical theater sound was and how it's
yeah,
evolved? Yeah.
yeah, because before it's such a stereotype that it's like forward nasal whatever.
Hmm.
And sure, some people do sound like that based on their anatomy, but that's not really my experience.
Hmm.
And I've only had about a year of vocal training before you with classical technique. So everything I was learning was really by ear. So I was
Mhm.
trying to copy all these like artists and stuff, which, does not work very effectively.
And I mean,
So,
initially, that's how many people are
yeah.
drawn to it. That's what I did, but yeah, it's when you don't innately sound like those people, and
Mhm.
you don't sound like them. You sound like wonderful people that are award winning and accomplished, but they're fewer and further between. And part of that's because you're 5'9". So, you've got like
Yeah.
the glamorousness of you just have a bigger instrument, essentially, your head and all of
But
that.
something you taught me and something that took a lot of faith and stuff was to trust that my sound would be a good sound and
Hmm.
like finding my unique sound that like strays off of what I've been trying to imitate this whole
Hmm.
time. Like really like listening to my voice. And I still struggle with this, of course,
Of
where
course.
it's like, what do I actually sound like? Because sometimes I go back into imitating, and imitating is really fun.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited to continue to unlock what I sound like.
Yeah. And I have to say, I have a blast um sending you as I'm scrolling through
Yeah,
Instagram all the time, and I'm seeing things that I know that you'll appreciate, and sometimes, just sitting down to say, okay, who do I need to which alphabet do you need to listen to, and we found our people. Shout out Casey
yes.
Levy, shout out Christine
Thank you, Casey
Dwyer,
Levy.
who have timbres that are much more similar to yours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something that's incredible is I can now, I'm getting better at like hearing where their placement is and like what their throat looks like. Like I imagine their throats while
Hmm.
they sing,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy and
What their
so fun.
vocal tract is doing. Yeah, Miyabi is for sure a real voice nerd, which is the highest compliment that I could give someone. It's
Yeah,
like it's like knighting her, making her a general or something, um, voice nerd, true
thank
voice nerd.
you.
Yes, you're very welcome.
You as well.
Thank you so much. It's a great club. We love it. So, what so a lot of, as I said, as I told you before we started filming, a lot of what we're talking about today is great information for anybody who's interested in TFCA, but I want to talk specifically to our donors who make all of this available and possible for our scholars, our 6 years of scholars, your year
Mhm.
being a sixth. So what do you, two things. First is has what has been the most important um, aspect of TFCA for you that TFCA has been able to provide or allow you to do through that donor money?
Something that's huge, I think, for the college audition process and like for everything is like repertoire,
Mhm.
like especially for acting. Like I'm good at acting, whatever. Singing's like my forte, but if I didn't have someone really working one-on-one with me to find pieces that like showcased who I was, I feel like we go and look at monologue books at the library or whatever, and we can never really find, there's never really enough to
Mhm.
like really speak and I feel like highlight who we are as people.
Mhm.
And so MTCA has really helped with that.
Mhm.
Also, with the dance, I love dance, but I'm not a dancer first. And so the combination was like so important, and like learning little techniques and stuff was so
Mhm.
important and really special to me. And just like having other people's eyes on your work that you trust and that care about you and believe in you and all this stuff. Especially because a lot of us are just maybe not so focused on every single aspect. Like we all have our strong suit and singing
Mhm.
is mine. So it's like, okay, I kind of know what I want to do with my voice, but I need a little help with the other things, which has been so important and great.
Yeah, because you're just more, they're newer to you. And the
Mhm.
donor money allows us to pay for one-on-one coachings with amazing monologue coaches, dance coaches, song coaches, um,
Yes.
really to the extent that you feel like you need it. So even when we're watching our budget carefully, which happens at this time of year, hashtag end of year donations.
They're tax
we
deductible.
they're text there they are. Thank you. You're excellent. Spoke you're a poster child for this. But we still, if a student says, I feel like I need another session with this person, I know this, I've watched the students work, so I'm watching over the donor money too, but I know that you do so much work on your own to maximize the value of those donor dollars. And you also know when you've hit a wall or you need a refresher or there's so what's coming up for you is your first trip to New York ever and MTCA mock audition. So making sure that you can see coaches live in New
Oh
York
my God.
before the mock. Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
Mhm.
My mind is gonna be blown. I'm so
Mhm.
excited, especially to
So,
meet the coaches in real life.
yeah.
Like, I have great coaches.
And it's so first time because of donor money, first time in New York.
Yes,
And first time, is it your first time seeing a big professional show period live?
yes, yes.
And it's
Oh
gonna be what? What's it
my,
gonna be?
it's gonna be wicked.
On the Broadway. And then what?
Oh, and then Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
But what about after Wicked? What happens then?
Oh, I'm gonna go backstage, hopefully.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
at
meet some
least meet a
people.
cast member for sure. And
Yeah,
if the company management allows, depending on, germs at the time,
yes,
they yeah, you'll meet and go backstage and hear all
yeah.
about the show from that perspective. But either way, like deep
Oh
dive with
my
again
God.
somebody who's in the MTCA family, who's been in the cast of Wicked forever, and
Mhm.
is just
And I've been
supporting.
obsessed with Wicked since I was like 13. Like,
Mhm.
I know all of the songs. Ellen knows, like, we sing them all the time.
It's so, we just have to make sure that if Miyabi faints at the beginning of Wicked, and those of you that have seen it know what she's
Someone
going to
has
see.
smelling salts.
Yeah, someone will, the ushers are trained. They'll revive you.
Like,
Um,
not miss that.
yeah, for sure. So, why do you think, kind of globally, but also from your perspective, why is it important that TFCA exists?
Hmm. That's a good question.
Mhm.
I think it's,
Sometimes it's hard. Think about like you are asking someone that tangentially, hey, I was a part of the next year when you're in school or when you're on the Broadway or whatever you end up doing and being successful at, whether it's a tour or television or whatever it is, and you say, I was part of this great
Mhm.
organization. I was a scholar for the Fund for College Auditions. Here's why, if you have the the abilities, that I think it's very important that you donate to this organization.
Yeah, I think we know that musical theater is a really hard profession, and doing musical theater prep for college auditions is really expensive and quite inaccessible to most people. And we also know that marginalized groups don't really have kind of, I mean, a ton of extra funds for that kind of thing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, especially in my case.
Hmm.
And I know, like, I went to a really kind of poor high school that was very diverse, which I'm so grateful to grow up in. But like, a lot of those people would not have any type of chance or opportunity to go and be in this type of field,
Hmm.
which, some of us really want to be. And I think we also see on stage that there's not a ton of people who, there's not as much diversity as there should be.
There are a ton of
And
people who look
since
like you.
Yeah, and since representation is so important and there's such like a financial barrier to this career,
Mhm.
TFCA is so important, and I am so grateful to TFCA because it takes down those like financial stresses.
Mhm.
Like, it gives us access to being seen and heard and bringing our perspective onto the stage,
Mhm.
which is like really important for people to see and for
Yeah.
people to care about and for us to bring our own stories to the stage.
Yeah.
Because if we're not there, it's hard to tell certain stories, give certain perspectives, all these types of things.
Yeah.
And so that's inaccessible without programs like TFCA.
Mhm.
Like, completely point blank, like, I couldn't do this without TFCA.
Yeah.
And I am so happy that I can. So thank you, donors, and Ellen, and everyone else who has supported me and this entire process.
Awesome. And when you speak about your high school and your, just kind of your background, you're from Portland, Oregon, which is, eh,
Mhm.
Southern Oregon is in Ashland, which is a great acting town because Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which is very famous, is there. But in
Yes.
terms of musical theater,
Good
it's not like
shows.
Portland. Portland's a major metropolitan area, but it's you if you are at a Title I, a lower income school in New York, for example, in New York City, you will have a lot more exposure just in general because of where you
Oh,
are
yeah.
to the arts. So outside of New York and maybe Chicago, where there are, hubs of theater, but New York's really the only one I can think of as a longtime
Hmm.
educator where TFC TFCA, we only have ever had one scholar who has even applied from there, and it was through a friend because New York City students um, who are lower income do they potentially have opportunities because there are groups like the Miranda Family Foundation and other groups that reach out and want to help those students in New York. So every
Yeah.
11th grader in New York, through, because of the Miranda Family Foundation in New York City Public Schools, gets to see Hamilton. Um, so
Well, that's cool.
yeah, it's really cool. And
Mhm.
yeah, but Portland, Oregon, you don't think Portland and think like, oh, middle of nowhere, but it's not a hub of theater,
Yeah, and it's
and
hard to see shows. They're
yeah.
expensive, like the ones that tour. Like I've never really gone that much to, you
Why
know.
not start off with Broadway?
I know, why not?
Why not? Yeah. So that's a great point, and that's something that me as the founder director wish I would love to see that grow and our ability to reach more students, grow, and because part of it's just luck of the draw, but that's another conversation. So what are you most looking forward to as your audition? So you've done some virtual auditions through
Yes.
Pittsburgh Unifieds. We love them.
Hmm.
But now it's your first time on your feet, starting with the MTCA mock audition on January 3rd, which is
Oh
a
my God.
week. So a week from today, you'll have done that. You'll have seen two Broadway shows, done a mock audition, met so many artists of your coaches and other teaching artists live, and then be on your way home. And then your big bulk of auditions at the beginning of February. What are you most looking forward to, and what are you apprehensive about, if anything?
Such a good question. I am looking forward to showing all the work I've done. And I just love performing. And, we're always taught that auditioning is just like a performance, which can be hard to take in sometimes. But it's like, at the end of the day, I'm doing exactly what I love to do. So the thing I'm most excited about is auditioning.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
just, and to get notes, like to see these incredible people, to like talk, like hopefully to get notes, to take
You
the
will
notes,
get,
to like
yeah.
to just like grow in whatever I'm doing.
Hmm.
Like I love my rep and I want to share it with more people than you. I mean, it's wonderful to sing with you, but like
Yeah.
I am so excited to perform these pieces that
Hmm.
I care about and I feel connected to the characters and I've worked on for months. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that.
And one of the things again that the funding allows us to do is have the budget to introduce you even prior to the mock audition to people, since we have worked so closely together, to people who haven't worked with you at all, and but are invested and warm and constructive in their criticism and straight up, to have those kind of pre
Yes.
mock auditions, because all of that process is what matters. You can't be successful in the room, or you can't be as successful as you would be without that, all of that organized lead up
Yes.
to that. And
Yes.
your job isn't to know, as the artist, isn't to know what that has to look like. That's what our job is, you know.
And the people behind the tables are like professionals and people who are so excited to teach.
Hmm.
And so I am so excited to show them
Yeah.
what I've been working on.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, how do you think it's going to feel to, this is your first real, building your professional network. You will have a Broadway professional actor. I mean, you already do. Your song coach, Josh Daniel, was in
Yes,
Little Shop for a long time.
Josh Daniels.
Yeah, Josh. So, but how do you feel about, what's your thought about the idea of like you're going to leave New York in a week, knowing a lot of people who are really doing the thing, in many different ways?
I think my brain will explode.
So you're gonna faint at Wicked, and then your
Yes.
brain is gonna explode at Pearl Studios on
And
Saturday.
then I will pick it back up and put it in
Put it back in.
full
Yeah.
so I can continue my path. But it actually like it will be mind blowing. I don't know how I will react. But I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Okay, so you are an experienced auditioning woman at this point. Um,
Hmm.
this is your second go around, which is not a bad thing ever. What do you think it's important for just auditionees in general to know? And you don't fully know yet. You're the only person we're interviewing who hasn't gone through any who, who hasn't gone through any. No, that's not true. You did the process by yourself, as did Max.
But
Yeah.
like
So
I did not get callbacks. I
so
submitted stuff, but I didn't really audition.
yeah. So so going, you're going to have a different, even bigger perspective 2 months from now, 3 months from now. But right now, what do you think? So talking to the juniors who haven't done this yet, or
Yeah.
other people younger than them, what do you think is important to, what do you want to share with them? You're the wise older sister. What should you share with the youngins?
I think you should have a huge spreadsheet.
Tell us more. I love that.
I think you should have a huge planning board,
Hmm.
like actually. And I think you should also take a lot of time to work really, really hard, but also like think about stuff. Like over the summer, like I was working like 30 hours a week, and in that time, I was just like, I love and hate jobs that I hate because working something you don't like makes you want to do the thing you do want so much more. So I was just
Hmm.
like thinking for 30 hours a week about everything I wanted to do and sing and work on.
Hmm.
So I
Working in
think,
like retail and stuff like that, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like just having time to really understand why this matters to you, I think is really important. Also, if you're in high school, do not overload yourself. Musical theater people, especially, think they can do everything. And you can, but what is important to you?
Hmm.
It's getting into a school you want and getting the financial aid you want.
Hmm.
Like, even if that means you can't do your senior show, like, I'm not even joking. Even if that means, like, I'm not joking. Do you want to a career in musical theater? Like, really ask yourself that and drop some things. Like, it is important. And I know it's gonna hurt and suck. But like, this is remember why you're doing it. Remember what you love. Like, you love to sing and dance and act, and I do too. And just like be kind to yourself because you are so strong and motivated, but like, why not give yourself the best chance possible?
Hmm.
Because this is such a beautiful time. That's what I would say.
I love that. Follow-up question. Do you allow
Mm.
yourself to rest and step away from this even though you love it? Have you found that that's helpful?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I don't know the answer, so I'm not trying to like feed you an answer. Because I know you're so passionate, but do you give yourself breaks?
Yeah, I try. I try my best to,
Hmm.
but I also love to
Yeah.
do what I do. I
Yeah.
give myself breaks in ways of like, I'm not, of course, I do all my dance classes, but
Hmm.
like, then I'll go social dancing. Like, I love West Coast swing dancing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a break to me.
Yeah.
Or
And you love
like,
your dance classes too. That's a big
I
fun thing
do.
for
I
you.
went to
Yeah.
ballet today.
Oh, awesome. And you sent me the from yesterday, right? Or two
Yes,
days ago. Yes. Mhm.
yes. It's so fun. I
Home
do
on
give
break from
like,
college, doing dance classes and audition prep.
it feels like a break.
Yeah.
And oh, in when I was studying classical theater, classical like performance,
Hmm. Well, you mean voice singing?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
when I was doing classical voice technique and I wasn't trying so hard, my voice teacher at the time said that I improved so much more. So sometimes taking a break is like actually
Hmm.
beneficial to your craft
Yeah.
and sleeping enough.
Yes. Sleeping, taking a break. Yeah. And circling back to your new singing awarenesses,
Mhm.
working on your audition prep. Um, what do you think about your own specific process so one thing that we worked on a lot, but we're going to tell the viewers here, is not over singing, which is really hard to learn. Yes, you're like,
That is
yes,
really
that.
hard.
What,
That's a
how did that,
huge
how
thing.
did that evolve for you?
I think me being like that spurred from a couple things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Over singing was like I was always in choir and I always felt like this is horrible, you have to blend in choir. But I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like I wasn't seen. Or
Mm-hmm.
like in high school, I never got really parts I wanted, or I wasn't in any honors choirs that were like audition based or whatever, and I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I really wanted to be seen and heard. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would oversing to
Mm-hmm.
show that. Or I would listen to like I just thought oversinging meant you were like working harder.
Yeah,
I
like
wasn't really
you were
sure.
putting more work in.
I wasn't really
Yeah.
sure what it could feel like or sound like if I wasn't doing that.
Yeah. And for those of you that aren't singers, whatever singing what it produces, it's too much air effort or too much muscular effort, and then you go flat or sharp, basically. At
I was
least in
also
Miyabi's case.
told I was
Hmm.
also told that I had bad pitch in high school. And maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know really, because some people told me I had good pitch, whatever. So I
I've
was
only experienced
always,
you having like shaky pitch if you're over singing.
yeah.
As soon as
So
you like let
but the
yourself
thing is, it's
coordinate
like a
naturally. Yeah.
cycle.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
tried to oversing to like really make sure my pitch was good.
Right.
And like, don't do that.
Yeah. But it's a new, so basically you have to experience and then memorize that new physical awareness.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. What made me think of that is saying you said when you said your classical teacher said, when you're not trying as hard, you sound better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think
Especially on
that's
high
probably,
notes.
oh, sorry, go ahead, love.
Especially on high notes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
low notes we've discovered as well, where I'm
Hmm.
like,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
can
Well,
handle
because
the
it feels
notes,
like
but like,
those are the extremes, right? But they're just part of the whole thing. Um,
mhm.
and I feel like the ability to work over the months that you have, which again, funded by the donor funds, has allowed you to have that confidence where now you're acting and the singing is you don't have to think about the singing, you know?
Yes, you will get to that point.
Hmm.
It's incredible.
Yes. And so if you're an up and coming auditionee, junior, sophomore, or freshman, that's the goal is that work you worked on your technique and are still working on it, but you worked really,
Mhm.
really focused in a focused way, focusedly,
Mhm.
and really hard on your technique. And you still do, but that was such a focus for months. And then now
Yes.
it's like, I got that,
Yeah.
you do. I
And then
mean,
like the
as your coach
songs,
listening, I'm like, oh, you got it.
yeah, it's
You know?
like the songs you never thought you'd be able to sing.
Hmm.
You can sing, and now you're looking for harder stuff. It's
Yeah.
crazy and
Yeah.
great.
Um, so who who is your part of the reason I'm asking this is because we're going to tag whoever it is, and maybe they'll see it, who knows? But who is your right now, or you can have more than one, of course, so your inspirations as artists
Mm. Like musical theater specific?
in general? Could be actors, like film, TV.
Mhm.
Just who do you look at and say, oh, what they're doing is amazing. I not necessarily you aspire to that, but you're just you admire their craft or you aspire to it.
I would say my number one right now is Cynthia Erivo,
Mm-hmm.
especially when she was in The Color Purple. And, it's so classic, but when she sings I'm Here, like, oh my God, all of her notes, like, her space is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just love watching her. Well, we're the same. I love watching her throat
Yeah,
and her mouth
her
and all those
technical, yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And she, like, it's so interesting to me, like, how she throws her head back and she still sounds so perfect and
Hmm.
controlled, and everything sounds effortless
Hmm.
and at the same time controlled, like
Yeah.
it's wild.
So I'm going to talk to the donors as an educator. As an educator, Miyabi's mindset as an educator who's a vocal specialist, I'm a voice specialized speech pathologist and have
Hmm.
worked as a production vocal coach on shows, et cetera, et cetera. But Miyabi's level of curiosity and how quickly she amassed all this knowledge and genuinely from experiential things, that is like she's a dream student for schools. And part of that always with TFCA is it's a little bit of luck of the draw, but we have a good sense of the people as humans and then um have a pretty good sense too just from being in this field for a long time myself of who really has that passion that's gonna light the fire, have the fire continuously lit under them. And it's been delightful to find a voice nerd, synergy with Miyabi. But
Yes.
her, especially for those of you that aren't singers, your level of understanding and inquiry is and rigor, the amount that you want to know and how you observe that when you're watching singers. I've watched that evolve very quickly because as everything you learn, you then apply. That is just that she should be admitted to every university that cares about that kind of both skill and talent and curiosity with a full ride. And I quote.
I can't wait to see Wicked. And like I haven't heard that many like insane voices in person. Like it's all recording, which like
Mhm.
is great, but it's
Yeah,
like, oh my God,
yeah.
there's so
And
much more.
and so this is what's cool too. We're gonna do a little teaching moment here. Keep it on the video for Nisi, who is our scholar who's editing these and also will be an interviewee. Um, is that in the show they have a sound design, so they're mic'd and the mics are balanced with the orchestra, and there's different effects that you'll see in different, because Wicked is spooky, so they have some reverb and stuff like that. But they're
Mhm.
able to it's engineered to a certain degree. It's their real voices. There's no auto tune or anything. And
Mhm.
then the next day you're going to experience live what you will hear and do in auditions, which is in the room, live, big voices and not so big voices that are, but it doesn't necessarily matter how big your voice is. So that it's how flexible and how um musical you are, your musicianship. So that's going to be so cool because one thing that a professional show does is it everybody sings at the same volume essentially, and they allow for the dynamics are still authentic. It's not like they turn up Elphaba's mic as she
Yes.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. I don't think they do. I mean, these are all very powerful singers. They add some effects, as things get
Yeah.
heightened. um or maybe they don't. That I don't know, I'm not a sound designer. But you're going to hear raw voices, and cast recordings are even more, like processed, so to speak, not auto tune, just more
Yeah.
balanced in that way. So it's going to be really cool. And your singer brain is going to even more acknowledge, like,
So
yes,
well.
it's so impressive to hear people sing their faces off, but also sometimes, people draw you in with not doing that in person. And of course, no one's mic'd in an audition. So, and why can you do that? Because the donors are going to allow you to fly overnight from Portland to Newark. Not a cheap flight, my friends.
I'm gonna
Um,
fly like Elphaba.
You're gonna fly, defy gravity, cross
Yes.
country, land, take the red eye, like bi-coastal performers should, land, experience New York, experience Harry Potter that night, then have the mock audition all day, then experience Wicked. Woo! Yeah, awesome.
I
Okay,
might
is there
not even
any,
need caffeine because of the adrenaline.
yeah, you probably won't until you do. Luckily, there are several caffeine offering places right on 8th Avenue, both
Mhm.
chains and bodegas. So you'll have your choice. So, is there anything else that you want to share either with the potential donors, current donors? We've thanked them and you were wonderfully articulate about that. Or, the youngins who are aspiring to do this or already doing it, planning, and doing their work. Anything else you want to share?
I would just say that musical theater is such a powerful art form, and that is something we need to keep alive,
Mhm.
like, and break down barriers, like Max said in his interview,
Mhm.
which is something so wonderful that you TFCA donors are doing for people like me and other people
Mhm.
who really want to share and bring their stories to the stage.
Yeah.
And also that any kids in high school, you're not kids. Anyone who's going through this audition process, like musical theater is important. And what you're doing is important
Mhm.
and powerful, and it touches people and it changes lives. And it's not just singing and dancing and acting on stage. It's like human.
Mhm.
And that's so beautiful and something I dream about all the time.
Mhm.
And yeah, just like keep your dream alive
Mhm.
because it's important.
Yeah. The New York Times had a summary of quotes. I think it was yesterday, but it's on their social media too, of people that have passed, artists that have passed this year, and quotes they've shared about their art. And there's one at least that talks about, you know, the just the, like you said, the importance of theater, both for you as a human artist, and what that how that helps the artists themselves, but also the storytelling aspect of it.
Mhm.
So if you're a theater lover, worth looking at. And many of you who have donated are, your parents who understand this, or family members of those who have gone through the process. But just straight up theater lovers, these truly
Mhm.
are, these students who you are supporting are, cliche as it is, the next generation. And they're each of the scholars we've worked with, I can confidently say that they are talents that, had they not had the chance to pursue performance, they can decide as they go through it if that's still their passion. And some change gear and parlay that into more of a production aspect, or do other things but incorporate their theater love while they're doing it. One of our scholars, she's currently a junior, is creating a public health career that she's going to utilize arts to inform people about public health, which is really wonderful. But
It's so
those
cool.
of you that, are theater lovers, it would have been a big loss for the theater, film, and TV world, for these young artists, the 31 young artists that we've supported over the last 6 years, to not have been, you know, had the chance to share their talents and skills with you as viewers and consumers of theater, and people that need those, that are heartened by those messages and need them. That sounded
Mhm.
very much like a Hallmark greeting card about theater, but it's true.
It
You
is
know,
true. And
it
thank
is
you
true.
so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Miss Miyabi. Today is Miyabi's 20th birthday, and we wish her
Yes.
happy birthday. Um, and she's about to dive into a crazy year, right?
I'm so excited. Like, I am so excited.
Yes. Thank you for talking to us on your 20th birthday.
Of course, thank you for talking to me on my 20th birthday.